Hey guys, what's up? It's Charlie here, and today we're going to be looking at 10 crazy things hidden in your favorite kid shows. So as kids, we likely all watched a bunch of TV. But what were we really watching? You may think it was all cartoons and funny sketches, but hidden inside those shows were some crazy things. From signs of a new world order to naughty jokes, check them out. But first, why not subscribe and press the notification bell too. Coming in at number 10, we have Illuminati. So, one of the best kids TV shows ever is The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. It features two twins, Zack and Cody, causing havoc in the Tipton Hotel. Now, we likely all used to watch this on the Disney Channel when we were kids. But there are some big mysteries of the show. For example, what does Mr. Tipton actually look like? And did London ever really learn how to drive? But one of the biggest mysteries of the show is something nobody noticed as kids. Instead, it's something people noticed when they grew up and watched the shows back. One day, somebody was watching an episode of The Sweet Life and they realized something strange. In one scene of an episode, it shows Cody in a classroom. It all seems normal until you read the chalkboard in the back. As you can see, someone's clearly written the Illuminati. This sparked a load of conspiracy theories saying that Disney works with the Illuminati. Disney is involved with the Bilderberg meetings, and many say the Bilderberg meetings is just a cover for the Illuminati. Some skeptics say this just says Illuminate, but if you look closely at the last letter, that's a dotted I, not an E. So somebody's obviously written Illuminati on the chalkboard. There are many theories about this, and some say it's trying to brainwash kids to respect the Illuminati. But what do you think the meaning behind this is? Next up is Expensive Assistant. So one of the best animated kid shows was Dexter's Lab. It was one of Cartoon Network's most popular shows. And who wouldn't want to see a genius super kid with a massive laboratory and a mysterious German accent? Obviously Dexter worked very hard and had a lot of money somehow. I mean, he literally had a whole secret lab in his parents' house. But in one episode, Dexter had too much work, so he decided to hire an assistant. He called up somebody from a local paper, but as you can see when his assistant arrives, she doesn't exactly look like an assistant. When she gets to Dexter's lab, he asks her to dance around. That was when she says, okay, but it's $50 extra. Yeah, that doesn't exactly sound like an assistant talking. And also, by the look on Dexter's face, perhaps he realizes he's made a mistake. It's pretty clear Dexter's assistant is the lady of the night. Of course, as kids, we likely didn't realize this, unless we had pretty weird parents. But it's pretty crazy the show's writers snuck in this naughty joke without us realizing as kids. Next up is Lonely Space Vixens. So this one is coming from the Rugrats. If you're a 90s baby, you likely definitely watched the Rugrats. But do you remember this one very odd joke in an episode? One night when Grandpa Lou Pickles is babysitting Tommy and Chucky, he rents them 2 Reptar movies. But then he pulls out another movie called Lonely Space Vixens. He says, I rented you boys some movies, Reptar Come Home and Reptar Redux. And then he says, and my personal favorite, Lonely Space Vixens. That's for after you go to bed. Clearly this is a very creepy joke. And it's pretty much implied that Grandpa Lou Pickles is going to be watching a naughty video. I guess this is a bit of humor meant for any adults watching with their kids. But do you think this is going too far for a kid's show? I just hope nobody from the Parents Television Council was watching. Next up is A to D. So, do you remember those old Nickelodeon live-action shows? There's a bunch of creepy stuff that happened in those shows, but we never realized as kids. One example of something very creepy happening in one of those shows is from Victorious. I'm sure if you're a little bit younger, you used to definitely watch Victorious. It was actually the show that launched Ariana Grande's career. But in one episode of the show was one very naughty joke. One of the characters is in class talking about his grades. He used to be a straight A student, but recently he got a D grade. He then says to one of the characters, I've always gotten A's in music. How does a person go from A to D? And then another female character says, happened to me in 8th grade. Now clearly she's not talking about grades, but as kids this likely went straight over our heads. She's talking about a piece of female anatomy, but we wouldn't have realized as kids. I have to say this is a pretty good joke, and it's something you might see in an adult sitcom like The Big Bang Theory. Again, I'm guessing this was to humor any parents watching with their kids. But do you think they went too far or not? Next up is Ask About Illuminati. You may think these secret subliminal messages only occur in 90s kids cartoons, but here's proof they occur in 80s kids cartoons as well. We all know that in the 80s, Disney's DuckTales was massive. It's a great show and was likely a childhood favorite among many Disney fans. I'm sure you're hearing the catchy intro tune in your head right now. The show revolves around Scrooge McDuck and his 3 nephews who go around trying to find treasure. But one day, Scrooge McDuck visits the doctor's office. Now, as you can see, nothing seems too out of place. But look closely at that eye test. You may think it's just a bunch of random letters, but if you put them together, you'll see something strange. As you can see, it clearly says Ask About Illuminati. I've already talked about Disney's alleged links to the Illuminati, but do you think they're subliminally trying to wake kids up and get them to ask about the Illuminati? Who knows, maybe Disney disagrees with the Illuminati and they're trying to get kids to look into it. I doubt most people would have even been able to read this. Back in the 80s, they likely never thought it would be an internet trend to hunt for these hidden messages. But now that it is, why do you think Disney put this in? Was it to try and stop the Illuminati or recruit for them? Next up is Illuminati Message. So here we have another Illuminati message, but don't worry, I promise it's the last one. The interesting thing about this Illuminati message is it's on a show that's on right now. I'm sure many of us are familiar with Gravity Falls. It's a Disney show that's still on right now, and many older people watch it as well as kids. The show centers around characters Dipper, Marble, and Grunkle Stan, and it's actually said to be one of Disney's best modern shows. They live in the town of Gravity Falls, Oregon, where there's strange mysteries. But another place where there's strange mysteries is in the show's intro. In the show's intro sequence, there's a very mysterious, cryptic message. I have no idea what it means, but if you can decipher it, then let me know. Not only that, there's also a mysterious voice whispering, "I'm still here." And just as the intro sequence ends, there's an Illuminati-inspired demon that shows up. And next to that, there's another secret message. However, this message has been decoded, and it says Stan is not what he seems. What do you think all of these very creepy messages mean? Are they all related to the show, or are some real-life Illuminati messages? Next up is watching sports. There's no denying it, one of Nickelodeon's best creations has to be SpongeBob SquarePants. It's actually the most popular cartoon of all time, and it's really no surprise, we all remember and love SpongeBob episodes. But in one of the SpongeBob episodes, there was a secret naughty joke. The scene begins with two bits of coral rubbing up next to each other on a TV screen. It then shows SpongeBob leaning into the screen with his eyes wide open. His pet snail Gary then walks by and he shouts, "Gary!" He then quickly changes to the sports channel and says, "I was just watching sports, Gary." It's pretty obvious SpongeBob was watching some naughty videos. It's okay, SpongeBob, we don't blame you. But I'm glad I didn't get this joke when I was a kid. I always saw SpongeBob as very childlike and innocent, so this would have really messed up his image. But guys, do you think this is a good joke or not? I have to say, watching it back now does make me laugh. But as a kid, this went right over my head, and I expect it went right over yours too. Next up is Woodstock. So this is a hidden joke in Hey Arnold that only adults would get. It's not exactly a rude joke, but it's something we wouldn't have got as kids. One day Arnold's talking to his grandpa, saying that "You're not too old, Grandpa, you've still got plenty of brain cells." It then zooms in on Grandpa and he says, "No, not since Woodstock." Of course, now we know that Woodstock was pretty crazy.
You could murder at Woodstock.
And some people today blame Woodstock for losing them plenty of brain cells. And I guess Grandpa Arnold is one of them. Seeing as the show was on in the 90s and many parents would have attended Woodstock, this would have made many parents back then laugh. But as young kids, we likely didn't even know what Woodstock was. If you guys remember this Hey Arnold joke, leave a comment letting me know if you got this as a kid or not. If you guys remember this Hey Arnold joke, then leave a comment telling me if you got this as a kid or not. Next up is Apology Cake. So this one is coming from SpongeBob SquarePants, and to be honest, I don't even remember this. One day Mr. Krabs is talking about an apology cake. There's then a quick image on screen of the cake, but it flashes away before you can really read it. But if you pause it on the cake, you'll see it says "Sorry about the scabies." Now, clearly this is a bit of a layered joke. Seeing as they're underwater and scabies was something pirates got, this makes sense there. But also the writers were trying to make a rude joke. We all know that nowadays scabies is an STD. And the picture on the cake too also kind of confirms this. I'm not sure what kind of crazy thing Mr. Krabs has been up to, but I don't want to know. Did you guys ever see this joke as a kid and not understand it? The cake's only on screen for a moment, so you likely wouldn't have been able to read it. But now as we're older, we can pause it, take a look, and actually get the joke. It really goes to show that kids and parents watching together had a totally different viewing experience. Next up is Father. So this one is coming from the Powerpuff Girls. We likely all used to love watching the Powerpuff Girls. I have to admit, it was a pretty amazing show. But in one episode, a young girl makes a joke that we wouldn't have got as kids. One day, the Powerpuff Girls make a new friend called Robin. They introduce her to the professor, and he says, "Nice to meet you, Robin, I'm the professor." One of the Powerpuff Girls then says he made us in his laboratory by accident. And then Robin says, "It's okay, Professor, I was an accident too." But clearly Robin wasn't a scientific accident, but a romantic one. And if you needed any confirmation of this, you can just tell by the look on the professor's face. This is a pretty funny joke for any adults watching. But as kids, we likely wouldn't have got this. And it's likely that many kids watching this were accidents to themselves, so it's a good job they didn't get this joke. But I have to say, this is a pretty hilarious joke that we can now look back on. Check out the poll in the top right corner for the best thing hidden in your favorite kids shows. I think it's the Ask About Illuminati thing, as that's very mysterious and eerie. If you want more awesome videos, then check out my second channel. There'll be a link to that on screen in a moment. But as always, thanks for watching. Check out some more videos on screen right now. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and if you haven't already, what are you waiting for? Subscribe to Top 10s.